Have you ever noticed how victims of narcissistic abuse seem to be stuck in an endless loop of clutter and disorganization? It's a pattern that's often dismissed as mere messiness or a lack of motivation, but there's something far more profound going on beneath the surface. Today we're diving into the shocking truth behind why victims of narcissistic abuse just can't seem to escape the chaos, no matter how hard they try. This isn't just about untidy rooms or overflowing closets. It's about how deep emotional wounds can manifest in the physical spaces around us. What if I told you that the clutter is not just a symptom, but a reflection of the psychological hold narcissists have on their victims? Stay with me because by the end of this discussion, you'll see how these seemingly disconnected issues are deeply intertwined, and you won't look at clutter the same way again. Before we dive into this eye-opening exploration, take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this video if you find it resonates with your experiences or could help someone you know. We're about to unravel a psychological phenomenon that could change the way you understand the impact of narcissistic abuse. Let's get started. Imagine waking up every morning, surrounded by piles of things that once seemed essential but now just feel like weight. You want to clean, you want to declutter, but something inside holds you back. You find yourself paralyzed, caught between the desire for a peaceful space and the reality of the chaos around you. This isn't just about procrastination. For victims of narcissistic abuse, clutter becomes a form of emotional bondage, a tangible representation of the invisible chains they carry after enduring manipulation, gaslighting, and emotional neglect. Narcissistic abuse is more than just toxic behavior. It's a calculated, often long-term manipulation aimed at breaking down a person's self-worth and identity. Over time, victims lose their sense of control, not just over their lives but over their very selves. The narcissist thrives on making their target feel small, helpless, and dependent. They isolate their victims, strip them of their confidence, and leave them feeling as though they have no control over their environment. This is where the clutter begins to take root. When a person is subjected to narcissistic abuse, their home, their supposed safe haven, can often become an extension of the mental chaos they experience. The clutter piles up, not just because of a lack of energy to clean, but because each item represents a small part of the identity that the narcissist has stolen from them. Every item might hold a memory or a sense of obligation, and victims find themselves unable to let go, even when they know that the mess is suffocating them. Imagine being in a constant state of fight or flight, which is exactly what narcissistic abuse induces in its victims. The clutter isn't just a mess, it's a battlefield. Every time the victim looks at it, they're reminded of their inadequacy, their inability to fix their life, and the fact that their surroundings are as chaotic as their minds. But instead of being able to break free, they feel trapped, frozen in place by the very things that surround them. Even more insidious is the fact that many narcissists use clutter as a tool for control. They will subtly, or sometimes overtly, discourage the victim from cleaning up or organizing. It might be through criticism, "You never do it right," or "Why even bother? You're just going to make a mess again." Or they might actively create chaos, leaving things everywhere, starting projects and never finishing them, or even hoarding items as a way to exert dominance over the victim's space. In these cases, the victim's inability to escape clutter is directly linked to the narcissist's manipulation. But why can't victims just clean up, even when the narcissist isn't around? That's where the psychological depth of narcissistic abuse comes into play. Over time, victims internalize the chaos. Their minds become conditioned to believe that they don't deserve a clean, peaceful space, or that they're not capable of maintaining one. The clutter becomes a physical manifestation of their mental and emotional state, one that has been twisted and distorted by years of gaslighting and manipulation. They may start to believe the lies the narcissist told them, that they're incompetent, lazy, or that they'll never get their life together. And so the clutter remains, reinforcing those lies every single day. Let's talk about the trauma response. One of the key reasons why narcissistic abuse victims can't escape clutter is because of how trauma impacts the brain. When someone experiences long-term abuse, their brain is constantly in survival mode. The part of the brain responsible for decision-making and organizing thoughts, the prefrontal cortex, becomes impaired. This is why victims often struggle with simple tasks like deciding what to keep and what to throw away. The clutter is overwhelming because their brain has been rewired to focus on survival, not on the mundane details of everyday life. Victims of narcissistic abuse are also often perfectionists, a trait that the narcissist exploits. The clutter can represent an all-or-nothing mindset. If they can't clean perfectly, they might as well not clean at all. This black-and-white thinking is a direct result of the narcissist's manipulation, where nothing is ever good enough unless it serves the narcissist's agenda. Victims are conditioned to think in extremes, and this extends to their environment. Cleaning and decluttering become monumental tasks, ones that require perfection or nothing at all. Another layer to this is the emotional attachment to possessions. Narcissists often manipulate their victims through gifts, or by attaching emotional value to objects. A piece of furniture, a book, or even clothing might carry the weight of the narcissist's approval or disapproval. Victims find themselves holding on to items not because they want to, but because those items have been imbued with the narcissist's influence. Letting go of the clutter feels like letting go of a part of themselves, a part that the narcissist has claimed. Furthermore, clutter can serve as a protective barrier. For many victims, the mess becomes a way to shield themselves from further harm. They may subconsciously believe that if their space is chaotic, it will keep people at a distance. After all, the narcissist has already invaded their life and their mind. What's a little more mess to keep others out? The clutter becomes a fortress, albeit a dysfunctional one, that offers a strange sense of security. It's a way to maintain control even if that control is destructive. The clutter also ties into a deep sense of shame. Narcissistic abuse victims are often riddled with guilt and shame, feelings that the narcissist has carefully cultivated. The mess around them becomes a physical representation of that shame. Every time they look at it, they're reminded of their perceived failures that the narcissist has drilled into their head. Cleaning up would mean confronting those feelings head-on, something that many victims are too emotionally exhausted to do. Even when victims manage to break free from the narcissist, the clutter often remains. It's a reminder of the trauma they endured, a scar that lingers long after the abuser is gone. And in many cases, the clutter gets worse after the narcissist is out of the picture. Without the abuser's constant presence, victims may feel lost, unsure of how to rebuild their lives or even where to start. The mess becomes a stand-in for their unresolved pain, a physical manifestation of the emotional wreckage they've been left with. There's also a deeply ingrained fear of letting go. Victims of narcissistic abuse often struggle with feelings of worthlessness and insecurity. The clutter becomes a way to fill the void left by the narcissist's absence. Letting go of the mess means confronting the emptiness, and for many victims, that's too terrifying to face. They hold on to things, sometimes even useless or broken things, because those items offer a sense of stability in a world that has been anything but stable. And let's not forget the profound sense of loss that comes with breaking free from a narcissist. Even though the relationship was abusive, victims often feel a sense of grief when it ends. The narcissist has taken up so much space in their life, emotionally, mentally, and physically, that when they're gone, it leaves a gaping hole. The clutter, in a strange way, becomes a substitute for that presence. It's a way to avoid dealing with the pain of loss, even though the loss is of something toxic. Clutter, in this sense, is not just about stuff. It's about unprocessed trauma, unresolved emotions, and the lingering effects of narcissistic abuse. It's a silent scream for help, a cry that says, "I don't know how to put my life back together." For many victims, the clutter is the last piece of the puzzle, the final thing they need to conquer to truly heal from the abuse they endured. So why can't narcissistic abuse victims escape clutter? Because it's more than just a mess. It's a reflection of their inner world, a manifestation of the trauma they've experienced. The clutter is the chaos the narcissist left behind, a constant reminder of the emotional and psychological abuse they suffered. And until they address that trauma, the clutter will remain, an ever-present shadow of the past. Thank you for sticking with me through this intense and eye-opening discussion. If this resonates with you or someone you know, don't hesitate to reach out for support. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a journey, but it's one that you don't have to take alone. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video so we can continue spreading awareness about the often overlooked impact of narcissistic abuse. Take care of yourselves and remember, you deserve peace both in your mind and in your home.
Hey, people who support empowering yourself. You may be wondering what narcissists do when you finally get away from them. It's not just about returning your power when you break up with a narcissist, it's also about realizing how it will affect them. Leave a comment below if you've ever taken steps to get your life back from bad situations. Let's inspire each other. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. We're going to talk about the mental, emotional, and physical effects on a narcissist when you shut yourself off from their life today. There is more to this path than just your own healing. It has to do with figuring out how things work and how narcissists react when they lose their source of approval. Stay tuned as we talk about these lessons and how walking away can change your life. Share, like, and encourage each other as we work to get our power and freedom back. 1. Knowing how ego reinforcement works. To understand what happens when you break up with someone who is focused on themselves, you need to understand the idea of ego reward. Ego reinforcement means giving egocentric people constant praise, respect, and attention in order to keep up their inflated sense of self-worth and fragile sense of importance. The people in their group give them this support, and they manipulate and influence others to make sure they get a steady flow of attention and admiration. When someone who gives ego-boosting sources, like a love partner, close friend, or family member, leaves, it can be very upsetting for the egocentric person. 2. The first response of the self-centered person. A. Surprise and decline. When you leave an egocentric person for the first time, they usually respond with surprise and denial. People who are egocentric have an inflated sense of how important they are and think they are necessary. People can't understand why someone would leave them, which can lead to a state of denial. They might not want to believe that the relationship is over and act like nothing has changed, trying to keep things the same. B. Outburst and fury. These people often lose it when they have to face reality and react with rants and anger. They are reacting this way because they can't change the situation and they are very afraid of being left alone. The egocentric person's anger can show up in many ways, such as verbal attacks, threats, or attempts to hurt your image. This stage is marked by the egocentric person's desperate efforts to regain control and dominance. C. Tries to get involved again. People who are focused on themselves use re-engagement to get their victims back into the relationship. This could be done through manipulation, claims to change, or even acting like you're weak when you're not. The egocentric person may send you a lot of texts, call you a lot, or show up at your house without warning to try to get you to fall back into their cycle of manipulation. People re-engage because they want to find a source of encouragement and feel in charge again. 3. The effects on a person's mind and feelings when they are self-centered. Erster Ego-Schock. When a main source of ego support leaves, it can cause a deep ego shock. This word refers to the intense emotional pain and sensitivity that egocentric people feel when their self-image and sense of self-worth are threatened. The shock can make people feel ashamed, inadequate, and deeply uneasy. For someone who is egotistical, this shock is often too much to handle, and they act defensively to protect their low self-esteem. B. Need for alternative reinforcement right away. When egocentric people experience an ego shock, they immediately look for other sources of support. To fill the void left by your departure, they may quickly move on to a new relationship, friendship, or business connection. This sense of urgency can make the egocentric person act in dangerous and rash ways as they try to regain their sense of importance and power. But new links might not give the same amount of validation, which can cause a cycle of discontent and more instability. C. Sadness and grief. People who are egocentric are often seen as sure of themselves and confident, but when their support is taken away, they can have big psychological problems. When an egocentric person loses a key source of reinforcement, they may feel hopeless and scared as they deal with feelings of not being good enough and being ignored. Psychological problems like these are often made worse by the egotistical person's unwillingness to get help or admit they are weak. 4. What happens in real life for an egocentric person? A. Being alone. One of the practical effects of your leaving is that the egocentric person may gradually become alone. As people notice how controlling and manipulative they are, they may find it harder to keep relationships going. People they know and family members may pull away, leaving the selfish person without a reliable support system. Isolation can make their mental problems worse and make them need other sources of support even more. B. Setbacks in your job. People who are egocentric often use their charm and ability to manipulate others to move up in their careers and keep business relationships going. On the other hand, when things go wrong in their personal life, it can affect their work. The selfish person may act erratically, which could cause problems with co-workers, subordinates, or bosses. This could hurt their work by getting them fired or hurting their reputation in their field. C. Problems with the law and money. Sometimes, breaking up with a selfish person can lead to legal and financial problems. If the relationship included shared money, assets, or business interests, the egocentric person might get angry and try to make the separation process harder or impossible. There may be legal conflicts, which can put a strain on both parties' finances and cause long-lasting stress. 5. Effects on the egoistic person over time. A. Unpredictability that doesn't go away. If an egoistic person doesn't have a solid source of ego reinforcement, their personal and professional life may become unpredictable over time. If they can't make strong, long-lasting bonds, it can lead to a cycle of short-lived friendships and ongoing conflict. This lack of dependability makes their mental and emotional fights worse, creating a cycle of unhappiness and unrest. B. Falling position in society. Egoistic people may lose their social standing over time because of the way they act. As their sneaky moves become more clear to people around them, they might lose the respect and admiration they once had. The drop in their social status can be very hard on their ego and make them feel even more inadequate and unsafe. C. Disagreement with change. When someone is egoistic, they don't want to admit their flaws or work on changing, which is one of the saddest things about it. Their strong need for approval and control often keeps them from reflecting on their problems or getting professional help. Because of this, they can't break out of their harmful patterns and are stuck in a cycle of manipulation and mental turmoil. 6. Your journey of healing and strengthening. It's important to focus on your journey of healing and strength, even though the egoistic person will face big problems after you leave. As you move forward, here are some things to think about. A. Make self-care a priority. When getting over a selfish relationship, it's important to put yourself first. This includes taking care of your body by eating well, working out, and getting enough sleep, taking care of your emotions by going to therapy, writing in a journal and practicing mindfulness, and caring for your social life by spending time with friends and family who are there for you. B. Give yourself limits. Setting and sticking to limits is a key part of protecting yourself from more manipulation. To do this, you need to stop talking to the egoistic person and be firm in your choice to leave. Setting limits helps protect your independence and keeps the self-centered person from coming back into your life. C. Get help from professionals. Working together with a therapist who knows how to help people recover from egotistical abuse can be very helpful. Therapy can help you process your experiences, rebuild your sense of self-worth, and come up with strong ways to deal with problems. D. Get in touch with your uniqueness. Having relationships based on egotism can make you feel less like yourself. Spend some time getting back in touch with your interests, values, and goals. Do the things that make you happy and satisfied, and surround yourself with people who value and respect you. E. Learn new things. Continuing to learn about selfish behavior and its effects gives you the power to spot warning signs and keep yourself safe in the future. Being aware is a powerful tool that can stop further abuse and trickery. F. Join networks of support. Making connections with other people who have been abused by egotists can help you feel better. Support groups, both online and off, can be very helpful because they bring people together and help them understand what they're going through. Thanks for visiting us today as we talked about what happens after you leave a narcissist's control. Cutting ties with a narcissist is a brave and life-changing step forward the road. The narcissist may be having problems on the inside after losing their main source of approval, but you need to focus on your own path to healing and strength. It's important to take advantage of the chance to rediscover your real self, set clear boundaries, and build a life full of support.